Well, welcome back, folks. Today we're going to talk about wiring for the SL125. This will probably be a multi-part series before it's over, but this video is really going to be an introduction to the topic. What you see in the shot right now is all the wiring that I got with the SL125 when I bought it. The stator assembly right here, that is intact. And I did test the stator, and it does test good according to Honda specifications. The handlebars, this is just the control loom that comes out of from the horn over on the right as it's sitting in a picture right now, and then the other switches on the left side exit the bottom of the handlebar, come out here. Those are intact and they're not damaged to speak of. The tail light assembly, and this is really the pigtail that comes out of the tail light, and that also appears to be intact, though it does have a little flattening and a little rubbing in here going on. And then the elephant in the middle of the room is this is all that exists of the original main wiring harness. This actually was in the box of parts that came with the bike. This was clearly not attached to the bike, and it's all I got. So I really don't have a lot to work with here. In fact, I have very little, particularly when it comes to the main wiring harness, so I'm going to have to essentially create my own from scratch, and using, these pieces will be salvaged. That is, coming from the switches, if the switches up in the handlebar controls are good, this should be salvaged. The stator, I'll just replace this black outside PVC covering or sleeve. That will be replaced. Probably replace the plastic connector here. And the loom coming from the taillight, I'll have to work that out as well. But the main wiring harness right now is my primary concern because I don't have a model to work from as I got the bike. So I'm going to change the shot here a little bit and bring in some pieces that we're going to use as the basis to rebuild and remanufacture the wiring harness. And I'll show you some of the parts I'm going to use to assist with that. So we'll change over the setup and I'll be right back. What you see in the shot right now are the foundations I'm going to work from. On the right here is clearly these are both well used. Honda SL125 original main wiring loom. I think it's from a 1972 model. Again, that's from an SL100. And on the left is an original SL125 1972 model. According to the Honda parts diagrams and part numbers, for a few model years, the SL100 and SL125 used the same loom. They didn't, I believe, in 1971, which is the model year of my project, but they did in subsequent years. I was a little surprised when I went out to eBay and went shopping for a good used wiring harness to rebuild. There aren't many out there. This was very, very typical of what I found out there, unless you really got into the $80, $90, $100 US dollar plus mark. Some cases they had original looms out there for over 100 US dollars and not much better shape than this. Pretty much everything out there, with maybe a couple of exceptions, again, and then you're talking about a price problem. The there's not a lot of used looms, number one, or harnesses I found. They're out there, but there wasn't as many as I was expecting. Not for the 125. You could find them for CB100s, CL100s, CL125s, SL100s, XL100s, XL125s. Not a lot for the SL, and that's why I picked this one up from the SL100. Not a lot out there. I was a little surprised by that, and I didn't pay a lot of money for these. I think the grand total I have in the two of them together is around 30 US dollars. What I'm going to do is, between the two of these, make one good loom or harness. That's my intention. And of the two of them, this one is probably actually more representative of how they came from the factory. This 125 loom I think was cut off right here, and someone just wrapped it up. And as you can see, I've not removed that black electrical tape yet. My next move with these two harnesses, I'm going to spread them both out individually, and I will pin them down probably to a piece of cardboard or a piece of plywood or something similar, and try to lay them out in a similar fashion and document them with photos, so I knew or will know what they looked like when I started, because clearly I have to start taking these apart and start from scratch to make a new harness. So I need to document the current condition of these two harnesses, and then from there I will start taking them apart and making a new one using the original, as much of the original wiring as I can. And of course I will test each wire as I go. I will repair as necessary, and with intent, of course, ending up with a good harness. Now, I'm not going to show all of that for the main reason is I've talked a lot about wiring in the past, particularly as it relates to the Yamaha YL1 project I completed recently. I did a lot of video work and demonstrated how I repair wiring. So I've done this kind of documentation by video before, so this would be redundant and a repeat essentially of the process that I use. So I'm not going to show all of that. There's actually, I think, even other videos out there. The F5 350 Kawasaki, I think I did some video work on wiring a number of years ago. So in terms of the process, I'm not going to show all that. I will show bits and pieces as I think it's appropriate. Allow me to bring in now the tools and some of the materials I'm going to use to restore these two. Here's some of the supplies I'm going to use to create one good harness from those two used ones. I've talked about some of this before in detail, and I thought I'd share with you that wiring, I know, is intimidating to some people. It's actually one of the my most favored activities on old bikes is wiring. I really enjoy resurrecting and repairing wiring. Engine building, engine restoring, and wiring are probably my two favorite parts of a project restoration. My least favorite would probably be wheels. I'm really not into doing wheels. I find it grubby, dirty, laborious, but it's got to be done, so obviously I do wheels. But wiring I enjoy. And I've got a pretty extensive repair capability in terms of, you know, the tools and the supplies, the kits. As you can see here, there are two different kits. One's a little more expensive than the other. And the ratchet and crimping tool, I've had those for years. These here are the new connectors. These white connectors right here. The appropriate silver gray tape that Honda used on some of their looms, and of course the sleeving. I've got all different sizes of Honda sleeving. And I keep this in stock, by the way. I have both black and the silver gray Honda type sleeving. I think Yamaha might use some of this color as well. Some of the others did perhaps. So these are the components, along with wire cutters and other assorted tools. You might have to use a soldering gun to repair and make a new harness. And if you look at, this happens to be the SL125 harness. If you look at these connectors right here, these are virtually identical. Of course, these are brand new. These are virtually identical, you can see there, to the originals as supplied by Honda. And let's see right here. Get this right there. They're virtually identical. For all practical purposes, they are identical. So I can replace these connectors, both the male and the female, with new. I've got all the spade terminals that go with them. I will very likely not preserve the terminals. I'll just clip those off short. I mean as close to the brass as I can, and install new connectors throughout the harness, including these kind of ends right here. That's not even original, as you can see. Someone scabbed on some modern style connectors, and I'll just clip those away. And again, each wire will be tested as I go, and it'll take some time. I probably will have a couple of days, 2 or 3 days in my shop, documenting and starting from scratch and making. I thought I'd show you how I lay out the harness, and then I label it as you can see. This happens to be the harness, the original harness from the SL100. Won't quite all fit in the shop, but you can see there how I've got it laid out and labeled. I try to lay it out in such a way that it makes sense to me. In other words, on the left here, where my left hand is pointing, this is the part of the harness that goes up into the headlight shell, and then I just work my way backwards along the bike. And using a wiring diagram, and I'll come back to that in a minute, I did my best to identify, and I'm pretty sure I've got it 99% correct, what the various pieces go to. Horn, ignition coil, you can see right here, rear brake light switch, main switch, that'd be the ignition switch, etc. as you work your way around. Let's talk about wiring diagrams a bit. As you can see here, this is the original Honda factory wiring diagram. I wouldn't even think about trying to do this kind of restoration work without having a quality wiring diagram. Unfortunately, I have not been able to locate a colored version of this. Everything I've been able to find out there has been in black and white with this little chart over here that indicates what the codes mean. This is not as easy to use as a true colored diagram, but certainly I can make this work. This is a document I used to reference to lay out this harness you see here. And what I'm going to do now is take detailed photographs from this perspective. I'll probably use my video camera to do that because it's already set up above. Then I will switch out I'll flip the cardboard, switch out the harnesses, do the same thing with the SL125. Then I have both of them documented is where I started. So I think that's going to be it for this video today, folks. Kind of short and sweet. I will bring you back during the process of working on this harness. Again, I'm not going to show every step, but I will try to keep you in the loop and bring you along for the ride as appropriate. Any issues, questions, thoughts, drop me a note. Otherwise, as usual, thanks for watching.